Hi YouTube, this is Hive Radical. I know I owe Mormon God a response. He tagged me on that whole 5-question thing. I'm going to get to that, I promise. I just wanted to address this issue here brought up by YouTuber with the moniker Reallifepoet23. He's a Huckabee fan. And he posts this video titled Mitt Romney Caught in Lies About Iraq, Mormonism, NRA, etc. And of course the overall theme of it is that Mitt Romney is lying or untruthful or what have you. There's a bit of a problem because every one of these points is itself either telling very little of what actually happened, or is itself disingenuous and potentially dishonest. I'm not saying that he's trying to be necessarily, but he clearly doesn't have all the facts. So I wanted to straighten these out. I don't know if he'll allow this as a video response or not. He seems like a reasonable guy, so I'm hoping so. His first point he says is that Romney has not been truthful about the economic success he claims to have had in Michigan. Goes on to cite some labor economist pointing out that Massachusetts didn't grow as fast as the rest of the nation as far as job growth and other economic indicators. That's kind of a really poor way to say that Mitt Romney was lying, because Mitt Romney created the jobs he said he created were actually created. The fact that it wasn't at the rate of the rest of the nation is kind of irrelevant. Say if you had various doctors that were competing, and one doctor started out with somebody that had a mild case of, just had a mild cold, and then you had somebody that had terminal cancer. At the end of the day, the person with terminal cancer might have changed from terminal cancer to, having gone into remission, but may still be in pretty bad shape. And then relative to the person that had the cold, he's still, that patient still may look pretty bad, but it's the difference of the change and then the original circumstances you're dealing with. So that's a major problem with that point. And to even claim that Romney hasn't been truthful, I mean, he has. I can't find a point where he hasn't been truthful on that. And on Romney and the economy, there's also a few other points. It points out, the fees and that were increased, and Romney points out at some point that many of these fees hadn't been increased for, in some cases, decades, in some cases over 50, approaching 75 to 100 years. I mean, fees that have been stagnant for that long. A lot of people will cite, or Medved is one of them, will cite, look at the overall tax burden on an individual, and it wasn't as high. It hadn't increased as much with Huckabee as it did with Romney. And the one thing that they failed to mention is the fact that tax burden is factoring in all of the taxes. And what happened during the time that Romney was in Massachusetts is that while he was a governor and he was keeping the taxes from being raised, and was cutting some taxes, he wasn't able to control all the little localities, the cities. Governors don't control what cities and what counties decide to do with regard to raising their own taxes. And so all of these places were trying to compensate for the programs for all of the waste that Romney was cutting out. They were increasing their own taxes, and that's why Massachusetts' overall tax burden was higher. And that's also another reason why they had a hard time recovering, because they weren't recovering at the same rate as the rest of the nation, because Governor Romney, he could do all he wants with the state taxes, but if the localities throughout the state are piling on taxes to compensate for whatever he's cutting or whatever he's not raising, and Huckabee, if you look at it, Huckabee at the end did raise taxes, which is different from Romney. And so I think it's important to look at the whole picture. A lot of people will take these selective things and will try to selectively compare what they have. But if you look at the whole thing, Romney didn't raise taxes. Yes, he raised some fees. He balanced the budget, and he was working with a government that was an economy that was in far worse shape as far as the direction was headed, the ruts it had gotten into, than what Huckabee was. And Huckabee managed to tack on, what was it, half a billion dollars. So I think it's important to keep all that in mind. Before I go further, I want to say that there are clearly points where Romney, like any politician, I can point many points out with Huckabee, with McCain, with Rudy Giuliani, with any of the candidates on the Republican or Democratic side that are major contenders that have pushed the limits of the English language or have exaggerated to significant degrees what they've said or have backpedaled later on. So, I mean, that's a given in politics of any viable candidate in politics. Next point. Talks about Mitt Romney on abortion. No, Mitt Romney did change his view on abortion, but he details what that was. He makes this statement here in the text that he displays while stuff is going on. He has an ABC News report going in the background, the audio to it, and it says, sure, someone can change their heart and mind on abortion once, but in this report, Romney is caught in a current flip-flop. Actually, he wasn't. Romney went all the way through. He had made certain commitments to the state of Massachusetts regarding the law and regarding abortion in the law. What ended up happening is Romney had promised the citizens of Massachusetts that while he was governor, and they always take this out of context when they're quoting this, but he said that, essentially he said, while I'm governor of Massachusetts, I won't do anything to go one way or the other on abortion rights, and he stayed true to that. And in fact, he was quite a strong advocate from keeping any progression of abortion within Massachusetts. So he didn't allow them to create even more liberal abortion laws, but he wasn't going to go off on some absurd quixotic quest to try and do something that he could never change in Massachusetts. It says here, also the Mormon Church is pro-choice. So what is Mitt? The Mormon Church isn't. What the Mormon Church's position is that it should be something available in the cases of rape or incest, or when the life of the mother is threatened. Now, I have a hard time seeing that as being considered pro-choice. The laws that, say, Ronald Reagan passed, the abortion laws that he passed as governor of California, were some of the most liberal ones at the time, but those were the things that allowed was for abortion in case of rape or incest or endangerment to the life of the mother. How that's pro-choice, I just don't see it. Certainly there are people in our faith that consider themselves pro-choice. The vast majority consider themselves pro-life because that's what they're going for. I mean, if a mother and a baby die when only the baby had to die, or, I mean, what life is being promoted if you force a pregnancy to go to term that's going to end up killing the mother and the child, or even just the mother? Continuing on, he says that